Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Blacklist. So in this episode, we see Kate still continuing her plan as she quickly dismantles everything that Reddington has basically built. Obviously, putting what we now find out is 86 bodies on that ice rink. And there's actually a special investigator. His name is Julian Gale. He's actually someone that Rustler worked with in the past. They were actually part of the same task force of hunting down Reddington. So obviously Rustler's there trying to, more so than anything, kind of be close to him to find out how far he's getting to the investigation. Because the fact of the matter is, if it turns out like, oh yeah, they've been conspiring with Reddington, especially with this new development of like all these different people he's killed. Granted, you even had one of the officers being like, should we really even consider these crimes, or should we even really care? These are people that work with Reddington in the first place, which is like, to Julian, it's like we've been tracking him for so long, but it's like he's a bad guy. It doesn't matter who he's killed, because the fact of the matter is these people had people they cared about and loved, and they never got to know what happened to them. So it's like, think about that. But more so than anything, it's like tracking down Reddington. I mean, I think it's naturally, it goes hand in hand. It's like tracking down Reddington because you were trying to track him down for so long, but also just because he's naturally like one of the most dangerous, deadly guys out there. So it's like he needs to be brought to justice. I mean, it just shows you he's kind of really adamant about doing his job. But basically, it's come down to if it gets found out about, because obviously this is already out there, if things tie, if Reddington gets caught and it trails back to the task force, all the higher ups will cut all ties, pretend like you never existed. And so anything, them working with someone as dangerous as Reddington will blow up in their face, because it's like, that was a different administration that made that decision. So it's like, you guys are going to have to suffer the ramifications for it. So a wrestler even kind of puts it later on. It's like, we might even possibly go to jail for this situation. So, but in this particular episode, we're, like I said earlier with Kate's mission, in this episode, she's acquired the help of a blacklister named the Philomena, a very interesting blacklister who I find it fascinating. Like, typical with blacklisters, they tend to be the main focus of the episode, which obviously she's kind of like a side, like she's like represents like half the episode, I'd say, but I feel like as a blacklister, she didn't actually pop up in the episode that much, because I mean, really the ultimate goal was Kate, but I mean, still, she popped up a good bit. So it's just, I don't know, maybe in retrospect, it's like, I don't know, not trying to, I don't want to, I feel like she got a little shortchanged in the, like, in the design of the episode and stuff like that. But nevertheless, very interesting blacklister where she, like, her job is to get close to people, like, so she can take them down. Like, she kind of targets people as, like, she's been hired to take down, but it's like, she gets close to them. Like, in this particular case, she ends up getting close to a woman named Alexa by bike. Like, she studies them for weeks and months, get to know them, and then kind of creates incidents where it's like, oh, they get close and everything. Like, the guy that she ends up kidnapping at the beginning of the episode, his name is Joe. He's someone that works for Reddington. She was hired by Kate. In this particular case, she was like, oh, we worked in the same work building and everything. She literally got a job at the same place he worked, made sure that they crossed paths enough for him to immediately recognize her. So I know, I don't know the actor's name, but I know him as Marshall from the show In Plain Sight. Never watched, but I caught glimpses of stuff here and there, so I do know that, like, it was a USA show. He was like the main protagonist, one of the main protagonists of it, along with, oh, it's gonna bother the crap in me now. I don't remember her name. Like, oh, I'm going to kick myself in the ass later on for not remembering her name. The lead actress in Plain Sight. God, I hate myself for that. Like, one of the last movies I saw her in, like, to anyone that might be curious about who she is, if you've ever seen the movie 1408, it had Samuel L. Jackson and John Cusack in it. Like, she was his wife in that movie. Her, like, I can't think of her name, and it pisses me off so much. Ugh. Nevertheless, moving past me, my little acting thing, oh, that's going to bother me all night until I Google it after I'm done with this recording. So, nevertheless, in this particular case, the woman Alexa that she's getting close to, she ended up running her bike out in the street to get hit. Just timed it perfectly like that. And then she created this whole scenario like, I'm having this bad divorce with my husband. We're fighting over my child. Like, she just bursts into tears partway through the conversation while they're talking on the phone. And then after, she's like, oh, thank you. And then immediately hangs up and everything. And she's kind of like, okay, let me get back to my yoga and stuff. I'm like, man, you are good. It turns out later on we end up finding out that Alexa is Alexa is actually Marvin's sister. This has all been about getting close to Marvin, of course. So I didn't see that come. I was like, who is she? Why is she so important? I thought it was like, okay, you already did what you needed to for Kate. So I was like, oh, you must be working some other job now. I was like, huh, who are you at? Oh, it's like, my brother's a big time lawyer and everything. I'm like, who the? And then it gets revealed. It's like, Marvin, of course. I should have saw that coming. Because there was a whole conversation of like Reddington being like, yo, Marvin, go into hiding. Kate's hitting us hard. She's taking down everyone associated with me. You'd probably be at the top of that list, which he was. I did like when Reddington first pops up and talks to one of the people. It's like a congressman or something that the Philomena went, like she worked for him for a little while, gosh. And he's like, oh, the fact of the matter is you had her get rid of some tennis instructor that your wife was having an affair with. It's like, what was his name? Chip? Strange name. What is that? A nickname? Is that short for something? Chipper, Chipwick? It's just, what? But obviously we trailed back. I know I'm all over the place, so I do apologize for that. But it's like, we had a conversation between Liz and Reddington, because Reddington's like, hey, can I, he's asking about Tom and everything, which we allude to that a little bit, where she's like, yeah, things are a little tough. Tom is, well, it's not good when you kind of find out like your life is kind of, you have your life one way and then all this new stuff comes out and kind of flips it upside down. Like now, I didn't think much of it at the time, but now I'm sitting here, it's like she was kind of, talking from experience herself. So, but I'm very curious to know where that lines up within the timeline of, like I said, like the first episode happened like right after Reddington had gotten poisoned, like roughly like right around that time. So I don't know if this is all like within the time frame of the show, if the season finale of the Blacklist Redemption is already happened. I mean, granted, she's probably kept in contact with him, like, because they popped it, like Harold and Liz popped up in like, that was the season finale, wasn't it? Or was that the episode before the season finale? Definitely the episode before the season finale. So that puts into question like what's the time frame of the show in comparison to the Blacklist Redemption. That's what I get. Of course, I'll be stumbling the most across this one, it being the last one and everything. So last one I'm recording is what I'm saying. Nevertheless, asking about Agnes and he wants to come up, and then like Liz is like, okay, but you have to look me in the eyes and promise me this first, that you won't go after Kate. Because it's like, for her, she's like, she always blamed herself for what happened to Kate, because it's like, Kate wouldn't have been in that situation if it wasn't for her. Because for her, she's like, Kate was in that situation because she was trying to look after me and my child and my family. It even brought up a conversation where you even had like Haran be like, Liz told us about Mr. Kaplan, which, side note, I did not know they did not know about her. It's like, interesting. I mean, because the only other associate of Reddington's they really got to know was a lady from the first season. She was kind of like his money person, and she ended up, getting killed in the first season. So that was like the only other person. Obviously, they know Dembe. But I guess like Kate was always his obviously being the cleaner and everything. So she probably never really she's always kept to the shadows. It's kind of what I'm alluding to and everything. So, but it still caught me by surprise. Like, right, you guys don't know about the whole Kate situation. You don't know about Kate. No, not just Kate. They don't even know about the whole Reddington tried to kill her situation, which Reddington didn't deny. He was like, oh yeah, I tried to kill her because she tried to help out Liz and her family. But I mean, it's like, obviously that was just like, but to him, he justified it being like, Kate kind of had her own agenda, kind of going along with it. So, and it's like, and they're basically, Harold's bringing up the fact is they found 86 bodies. They have Reddington be like, I mean, that seems like that's kind of a lot. I mean, lucky for me, they haven't checked overseas and everything. It's like, just how many damn bodies do you have overseas if this is how many you've gotten? Like, I mean, granted, we don't know if these are even all the bodies that, Kate has, put away from her. And, I mean, it shows you how long, they've been doing this for, 2 decades. So it's like, they've racked up a lot of people. I mean, it turns out later on, you learn from Julian, that all these different people that died are people that were associated with Reddington. In particular, people that the task force was trying to get to turn on Reddington. Which is kind of like, hey, their blood is on our hands. So it's like, if we put this guy away, we can kind of wash our hands of this. At least feel some solace in knowing that even though these people died because of us, the fact is we finally caught Reddington and made it somewhat better. Give closure to these families that we kind of put a target on their back by going after them to ask them to turn on Reddington. But getting back to what I was bringing up earlier, is the fact is that, she always felt like that because it's like her granted, as we know, and eventually Liz learns too, because Kate finally tells her the truth about their whole past. And it's like, I've known you since you were a child. You wouldn't remember me after everything that's just happened in your life. But the fact of the matter is, she was like, promise me that I will help you stop Kate, but I won't let you kill her. I won't let you hurt her. So promise me you won't do it. And he's like, I can't make that promise. So she's like, so you can't, because of that, you can't come up to see Agnes, because it's like, that's what this whole thing is about too, is protecting Agnes. Is Because the reason why is because it's like, if you're willing to do this, like, you made mistakes. Obviously, you hurt her and almost tried to kill her, but she's alive. She's fine. The fact of the matter is she's coming after you hard. But at the very least, like, let's try and end this where no bloodshed has to be shed. Because, like, on some, because obviously, like, Liz doesn't want him to do this because, it kind of explains that tear last episode. It's obviously that she got close to, Kate, but it's also because it's like Kate helped them, and it's like that's what, like, that tear from last episode, because she felt relief because it's like she blamed herself for Kate ending up in the situation she did. So, but at the very least, in some twisted way, you can take solace in knowing, like, hey, Reddington didn't lie to her, which he's always constantly brought up the fact that he would never lie to her. He could have lied to her and be like, okay, I'll do what you ask, Liz. I won't. It's like, nope. He was like straight up like, nope, I can't make that promise. I have got her retaliation and all that. Which I'm sure that if he had tried to, Liz would have been able to see through it and knew that he was lying. Like, he could have easily given her the answer she wanted, but no lying to her, as well as the fact is he probably knows that, she's good. She probably can see through his lies and everything at this point in time, so. But honestly, Kate brings up the whole reason, like, she's like, the reason why I'm telling you this whole situation about our past and everything is because I want you to get away as far away from Reddington. Let what's about to happen happen. She's not trying to kill Reddington. I think even with everything that's happened, I think on some level she still cares for Reddington. Maybe because she's willing to let him go to jail. She's not going toe to toe with him and trying to kill him. She's trying to get him locked up for a very long time. So I guess for her, it's like after everything that's happened, like just letting him have a simple death isn't justice enough. It's like, the fact of the matter is, it's too late for you, Liz, because I wasn't able to save you. I failed you, but I have not failed Agnes. So, like, do what your mom couldn't do. I mean, your mom did, but it was already too late. So, walk away from Reddington, which Liz isn't willing to, because it's like, I don't know, it's very interesting because we do see Liz in a very tough spot, because no matter what the situation is, like I've brought this up countless times, like, even with the ups and downs, she's always stayed by Reddington's side, like, because I guess for her, like, nowadays, like, yes, he's trouble, and trouble tends to find its way towards him, but he's still kind of family to her. He is family, like, outside of, like, Tom and Agnes, and the task force, which he kind of falls in that category too. He is family along with Denbei too, so that was just kind of interesting to me, like, that turn of events and stuff like that, because she's bringing up the fact of the matter. She's like, I got in here like this so easily. I got to Agnes. What if I had been one of Reddington's enemies? You have to, like, be careful about this. Like, if you're going to stay so close to him, you gotta remember the fact of the matter is the dangers of what happens being getting so close to him. It's like, let's not forget the dangers that happened because of during your whole wedding situation. So, and since I brought Denbei up in this episode, we do see him, he is recovering, but you have Reddington giving him a box. He's like, do not open this box right now. The fact of the matter is, this box is kind of your leave whenever you need to box. No questions will be asked, because the fact is like, everything that I put you through last time, like suspecting you, putting your character into question, like, no apology is good enough for that. He's like, because he breaks it down, he's like, the fact of the matter is, a lot of people are indebted to me. I've never asked anyone to be indebted to me. But you know why they're indebted to me? Because I make them rich. The fact of the matter is, why they're loyal to me is because I've earned it. But, like, with Denbei, it's a different case. For him, like, Denbei is like, legitimately, you're my only friend. Like, everyone else, it's always business, but with you, it's not the case. And so, for him, I think it's a situation where it's like, I shouldn't have treated you like that. The fact of the matter is, you've always been loyal to me. You've always, not just from a coworker perspective, it's like you've been a friend to me, you've been an ally. And the fact is that I so quickly tossed you, like, the thought of, like, you being the one that was against me. Like, I put you in that situation, and I'm sorry. I mean, like I said, like, he never actually says the word sorry, because for him, he's like, he feels like sorry wouldn't be enough. So to him, he's like, this is what I'm offering you. You don't have to do not open it today, but open it at any point in time, whether that's tomorrow, a few weeks from now, 10 years from now. Open it when you're ready. Basically, it's like you walk away from this situation, and like, maybe one day we'll cross paths and we'll be, we'll be able to kind of sit back, and it won't be a, boss and coworker type of situation. It'll be like a, hey, we're cohorts, we're friends, so. Because I think on some level, Reddington's also trying to, I think he wants to keep people close, but I think he is afraid of losing them. Like, he holds so tightly to Liz, but, maybe this whole Kate situation is kind of putting things in perspective, because it's like, the fact of the matter is, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this, but the fact of the matter is that he's trying to give Dembe an out because he doesn't want Dembe to become a casualty in this whole situation. Because like the last thing he wanted is Dembe to have to be in a situation where he has to choose between him and Kate, which I mean obviously he's kind of already been chosen for him because Kate put him in a situation to be framed for poisoning Reddington and everything. So, but more so than anything, I think that was also because it seems like that's something she does later on in episodes when she's talking to Marvin. She's like, Marvin, the fact of the matter is you sacrificed so much of your life for him. For what? You think he's going to really care about you, your loyalty and stuff like that? Which still Marvin's like, I'm not going to give him up. So to me, makes me wonder, does Kate kind of feel the same way? Was she trying to like do that with Dembe by putting him in that situation, like see what happens now that the shoe's on the other foot? I mean, granted, in her mind, it might have been poetic justice for the whole situation. It's like, I tried to do the right thing and look what happens. I get, shot by Reddington. It's like, so now that shoes on the other foot, see what happens, Dembe. Or maybe it was to the point for her to later on be like, you saw what happened when he thought that you actually was the one that poisoned him, that was taking down his organization. Come be by my side, Dembe. I know this is hard for you, but the fact is, Reddington doesn't really care about anyone. Maybe this might all be tied to whatever is in that box, and maybe whatever it is will be the deciding factor. Like, for now, it seems like he's 100% still on Reddington's side, because it's like, Reddington's like, sees him at the end of the episode, like, what are you doing here? He's like, you should be resting. It's like, I'm done resting. We need to find Kate now. So, and obviously at the end of the episode, we also see that Marvin ended up getting arrested too. Because Kate was like, obviously, like, he wouldn't back down. So it's like, and we also saw Joe being grilled. And it's like, so tell us your connection to Reddington. And also, like, basically, there was a fingerprint that was left kind of by Kate, which is kind of interesting. Like, obviously, Kate's very good at her job. But basically, they kept the furniture from the whole Diane, like, Fowler, like, situation when Reddington killed her. The fact is they're bringing that up makes me wonder, is there, like, more, like, what's it? I have to mention this every time. I don't rewatch a lot of shows. The Blacklist is a show I've not rewatched the earlier seasons. Like, her whole death situation was season 1 because she ended up betraying them. I forgot who he was, but it was that Blacklister. It was like 2-parter where the guy came after Reddington at the FBI. And the lady I mentioned earlier in the episode, like, the lady who was his money person, she ended up getting killed, and he was about to have Dembe killed if Reddington didn't come out. So that guy, like, she's the one that sent him after Reddington. But the fact is that, like, during the, like, flashback to her, like, whole death scene, it was like, she's like, I know the truth, Reddington. And it's like, so what does that mean exactly? I mean, I feel like that's something that's got to be correlating with now. I mean, I think even being as close as she is, I still feel like Kate doesn't know everything. Because once again, I think I brought it up last episode, but I've brought it up multiple times, so it doesn't matter. So I'll reiterate it one more time. What's one more time to the millions of times I constantly repeat myself? The fact is, we still don't know what it is that he told to Kirk to make him leave. Because the fact of the matter is, that seemed like something pretty important, whatever it is that he whispered in his ear. I'm sure that might be something not even Kate, probably something even Dembe doesn't know. Something that he's keeping secret that, like I said, I'm getting the feeling that there's probably a lot more to this whole situation. And maybe it has something to do with Liz's mom. Maybe there's a lot more to that than Reddington. Like, obviously, he talks about the whole story of, like, oh, everyone's like, she walked into the water one day and never came back. So I was like, maybe Reddington knows that she actually is still alive and she's hiding out somewhere. And maybe he's been keeping her hidden this entire time. And maybe Kate's really been thinking, like, Reddington's a bad guy, when in actuality, he's really been doing a good job because everything he's been doing is for her sake, looking after Liz's, like, doing what Liz's mom wants. Maybe that's what this whole situation was. It's like, maybe in truth, she's the one that sent him their way to both Kate as well as Liz to protect them. So, I don't know. Because maybe at the end of the day, it isn't just about Reddington's enemies, it's also about her enemies too. So, but the point I was getting to is, the fact of the matter is, there were some print changes, which Reddington was like, oh yeah, I have no idea what's up with that whole print situation. And Liz is going like, sure. Because Wrestler ended up running in prints. At first, he's kind of like, I'm not sure if I should or shouldn't, because the right thing to do would be to do it, but that would mean jeopardizing everyone's job here, which is like, he's like, I did the right thing. He turned them in, but the fact is, the prints didn't come back as Reddington's. So it's like, maybe he has someone that's, there that's loyal to him that changed it, the prints or something like that. So, not unless it could have been someone like Haram, but it had to be someone that went specifically to change the prints. I mean, not unless Haram like did some digital stuff and switched like on the database, or when the test came back, on the computer or something like that, switched it. But I get the feeling with a situation like that, there's a paper trail too. So not unless he covered his bases there, but I'm pretty sure it's probably somebody else. But nevertheless, Julian, because obviously Wrestler had joked that like, oh yeah, the reason why you haven't been able to find Reddington, the reason why our division got shut down, you know, the one meant to hunt down Reddington, is like, oh, because he turned himself in. Julian at first kind of laughs about it, but then he takes what Wrestler says, like, what if that's the case? What if he's got connections to someone? It's like, oh, well, who's that one person he spent so much time with on the run? Oh, Liz. So I guess we're going to have to start looking into Liz. Which you have a look on Wrestler's face like, crap. So now we have Julian starting to head down the path of Liz, which isn't a good thing because, I mean, it's going to be a situation where it's like she's going to be neck deep in all of this because of her ties to Reddington and everything, and it's going to drag her, you know, obviously Agnes into this too. So it's going to be interesting to see what Liz does in the next episode and how Julian goes about this. Because as we've seen in this episode, Julian's a very smart dude, which like even like, you know, Wrestler was like, yeah, he's going to find out the truth eventually. It's like, no matter what we do, the truth is going to come out. So, and also a side plot to this episode was kind of interesting is that basically, I don't know what the context of it was, but basically, Samara was up for some fellowship thing. I don't really understand what it was about. But basically, she got it. But then she finds out from the dude who gave her the fellowship is like, oh yeah, Haram, he was persistent about you getting it and everything. Where she then proceeds to turn down the fellowship. She's like, so you put in a good word for it. It's like, oh yeah, you deserve it. She's like, yeah, I know I did, like last year, but I'm not going to get it now because it's like you feel guilty about lying to me and everything. He's like, you know, it's like I want to get it on my own merit. The fact of the matter is that I was chosen because the fact is I'm very good at my job. I'm very skilled in everything, you know, because of my own, me being me, not just because, also because, even if it was just like that helped like 5%, that's still him helping because obviously she's still pissed at him because it's like, even he's asking Liz, like, do you think she'll be mad at me forever? It's like, defined forever. I forget, most likely not, well, that was the case, but still, like, probably not the exact words, but what, you get what I mean, so. But she has a right to be pissed, so it's like, I don't see her being it's like, you messed up so, like, it was there, dude, it was like, Samar and Aram, that was a sure thing, dude, and you had to go and mess it up, and not just with anyone, like, your ex who was manipulating you, who was lying and using you, who if the time came down to it, would have probably killed you, given you an opportunity. It's like, oh, well, you're no longer necessary, so it's time for me to put a bullet in your head. It's like, that was totally a possibility. I mean, let's not forget, she kind of kicked your ass. Granted, the last situation, she did help you out with that blacklist. I can't remember. I know the actor's name, Brett Spiner, like, he played him, but nevertheless. So, I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like, why did you do that? Not listed, like I said, across the board, across everything, but especially in this particular situation, but more so, obviously, in the grand scheme of just the story and everything, like, are there any ulterior motives? Are there things that are being held from us? Which I wouldn't be surprised. Like, especially when it comes to this show, there's always twists and turns that you just, like, the only people who really know probably everything is Reddington. And he never lets on just how much he really knows unless he needs to divulge that information. So, overall, very, very good episode. And I'm very interested to see where we go in the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.